Man. Minus $765 million. That is insane. What a colossal crash out by Bungie. Yeah, I think Bungie is... I think they have one more chance. I think that they're going to have I think they're going to have to do layoffs, and they're probably going to have one more chance to be able to make a good game. Did you read counterterrorism paper? I did. I completely agree with it, and I think that the government needs to be locking and packing these people up and putting them in camps. I'm completely in support of it.
Oh, can I just say this image right here? This is our final shape.
Yep. That's
Myself,
bad.
Frost,
That's
and
bad.
ZK working at Mickey D's. This is truly the final shape, and we are getting closer and closer to it. Most notably with the news here recently about Bungie. And let me just say, guys, it ain't good. I've been seeing a lot of things online. I've seen people try to pull some copium bullshit out of their ass saying, oh, no. This is actually a good thing. Or my favorite, this is all part of the process. This was the plan of Sony's all along. Delusional. But not as...
It was in, like, Marathon, Destiny 2 died, so Marathon could die. This is the Bungie master plan.
As delusional as the Marathon community. Oh, yeah. You fuckers. Believe me, Destiny players... We have been submerged in the copium, but you guys are running in head first, thick into it, my man. But let's get into the news. Hold on, let me pull this up. So I'm on vacation this week, and this is what I woke up to. PlayStation's reported a $765 million impairment loss due to underperformance by Bungie. Now, if you remember what I said leading up to this earnings call, I told you guys that we were in speculation territory. You know what I'm saying? Yes, there was an impairment at the end of last year, if y'all remember that.
Wait, so this is the second impairment. And if it was 204, this is 765. That's 969. So that means that they're almost at 1 billion lost dollars so far, and that's what they'll report. So the odds are they're above that.
Not go against goodwill, but still not a good sign. And I told you guys, strike two would be another impairment. Strike 2 and 3 would have been an impairment.
A lot of impairments.
Goodwill. Now, as far as I'm understanding, it didn't go against goodwill, but it still is an impairment nonetheless. And there seems to be some copium about this, where the same folks that came out and say, don't worry, this is just an accounting thing. They're also the same people that come out and say, don't worry about it. When you buy something that's for your business, it's a business expense. As if that makes it free. That's not how that works, guys.
It's just
when you say something, I'm going to write it off. It doesn't make that item or whatever, that expense, free, okay? No. So the impairment here, essentially all it really boils down to is, well, Bungie's assessed value is obviously not as much as Sony originally thought. I mean, I don't know, dude. I mean, we could have all kind of...
Well, if you reassess the value at a almost 30% differential, because didn't they buy Bungie at like 3-point-something billion dollars? So like if you're reassessing the value and the impairment is like a total of 900 million difference, that's like 30%. That's insane.
Let's just say this though, because Pete Parsons, by the way, he's on some tropical island somewhere, sitting in one of his 35 exotic cars. And can we just say, I don't like what he did to Destiny or Bungie, but man, my man's straight up a villain. He came in there, he talked the talk, said Bungie had all these incubation projects. Again, we're cranking on Destiny, we're cranking on Marathon. We got Gummy Bears, we got Destiny Payback. Oh yeah, we are live service gods. Everything we touch turns to gold, and we've got 4 or 5 more live service games. And Sony was like, all right, how much? And Pete was like, I don't know, man. Billions, probably. And unfortunately, that's what Sony paid. Now, yes, there's some accounting benefits right now to the impairment. But regardless, whether you were Microsoft back in the day with Mojang, whether you're Tencent with Riot, when you buy any asset, you know, you want it to have a good return. And I can promise you that's the alternative that Sony would rather have right now. They would rather...
Nobody at Sony is happy that Marathon has 15,000 players. There's people losing their fucking minds, losing their fucking jobs, losing their fucking hair, like, they're going crazy over there. They're probably furious about this shit. Are you kidding me? Like, how does anybody think this isn't a massive problem? It's a huge issue. Like, how can you not immediately come to that conclusion? Duh.
Have Bungie be exactly what they said they were going to be. You know what I mean? I've yapped long enough. Sony backs Marathon even after $765 million in Bungie impairment losses. So this was from Paul Tassi. This was published just the other day. Paul's been catching a lot of heat online. A lot of people in the Marathon community. Not many of them, you know what I'm saying? But they're pretty vocal. While most of Sony's recent earnings news this week was positive, there was one very glaring red mark in the books. That would be Bungie, which Sony revealed another $565 million in impairment losses, joining the $200 million it had announced previously. Despite that, Sony said it is backing Bungie's recent underperforming release, Marathon, and continues to support the studio. But there's a lot to dissect here, so let's go through it. What is now $765 million in impairment losses against Bungie is not something as simple as Bungie games are $765 million in the red. Rather, what impairment losses are doing is acknowledging that Bungie is not as valuable of an asset as Sony thought it was when it bought it for $3.6 billion. So it keeps knocking that number down. Sony looking ahead to fiscal year 2020.
So, like, I mean, there's no way you can reframe this to make it not look bad. That's so bad. Like, nobody does that to a good product.
Says it believes those impairment losses for Bungie will be absent or at least way less than the 1 billion yen, 565 million from this year. It remains rather wild that Sony ever thought Bungie was worth 3.6 billion, which is eyebrow raising at the time. And from an outside perspective, it still seems that it's probably worth less than Sony is saying, especially given recent events. I mean, look, we talk a lot of shit about
They probably projected it based off of Destiny 2. And they thought that it was going to work that way, assuming that there would be a live service success. They probably did like a best case scenario, and it didn't happen.
But if there's one thing that Pete seemed to have done his job well on, it was, you know, getting the biggest price possible
big
for
money.
Bungie. I also think this was a knee-jerk reaction at the time because Sony was getting a little scared with what was happening on the Xbox side. Lots of acquisitions. Of course, the thing Blizzard, that was leading up to the big acquisition of Activision, right? It almost reminded me, although this is a much bigger scale, but it reminded me years ago whenever every platform was buying content creators. If y'all remember that. Everybody was trying to lock in content creators in exclusive deals, and it really just took, Mixer going out for them to finally be like, whoa, this is not sustainable. It's a situation like this, but on a much bigger scale. And obviously, you know, you have tangible products that go alongside it outside of, I guess, influencer. Despite this, Sony has at least publicly backed Bungie's continued work on Marathon, saying players' reception to Marathon is strong, receiving a Metacritic score of 82, and more than 90% of the player reviews on Steam being positive. Engagement metrics such as retention also remain at a high level. Going forward, we aim to improve the performance of the game by working to retain highly engaged core users through the introduction of additional content, further improvements in the gameplay experience, and expansion of the user base.
I don't think so.
I mean, look, I think the main thing is like the people that are still playing Marathon, they're playing a lot of it, you know. Personally, I think Destiny is the better investment. And I know Marathon people, you're going to come for my neck right now, but I just think it is.
Marathon is going to probably get discontinued, turned pay to win, or they're going to payroll it in new ways, like adding operators that, for example, you have to buy and unlock. They're going to do something. This cannot continue. Something is going to have to give. What is it? We'll find out.
It has a more interesting universe.
Destiny 3 or die.
Think that
I agree.
The foundation there is
they have
way
to do
more
that.
solid. I think right now they're seeing some like high retention numbers, but that tends to happen. For instance, this is a very small piece of what I can offer here from personal experience. But like if I drop a video on my channel, what you normally find is the videos with the least amount of views have the highest retention. If it just seems to work that way, man. It's like people that are actually interested in that particular topic, or in this case, a community is actually engaged with Marathon and its IP, tend to play the fuck out of this. Or in my case, you know, they'll watch 3-4 times the amount of some of our other pieces. And of course, there's a lot of variables that's involved in that. It's interesting how that goes. It's like the further something keeps refining down, yes, those players will be the ones that play the shit out of your game. That optimism seems unwarranted if you've been tracking the performance of the game, which has continually lost players since launch with no signs of anything resembling a turnaround, even as moves have been made to appeal to more casual players. On PC, its main platform, it's about to dip below Destiny 2's nightly numbers. It already has.
That's nuts.
An 11-year-old game that is in the middle of its longest content drought in its history. Even as Sony is saying this now, there's nothing to guarantee a lack of poor outcomes for Bungie, including layoffs, reduced costs, which in turn would mean less investment in these games, which would likely mean fewer players. A spiral we've already seen with Destiny. It's very clear that Bungie does not currently have enough resources to produce enough content for Destiny 2. The studio now tilting in favor of Marathon in terms of total devs aside, and that isn't going well either. I think Paul's referring to his insider stating that there's now officially more developers on Marathon than Destiny. Destiny 2 simply wasn't mentioned at all, which is disconcerting for what was Bungie's flagship franchise, and now a game that has no clear roadmap for the future. Fans are hoping.
I think they're going to make a Destiny 3. I think that's what has to happen, because there's no way they can't. I mean, like I would never play Destiny 2, but I would immediately play Destiny 3. I think a lot of people feel that way. There's too many expansions, too many things, too many updates, too many, there's too much going on. I'll be right back. All right. We're back. Sorry about that. We good?
Destiny 3 may soon be announced, but there are no indications that is going to be the case, and that would likely have to come with a near total shutdown on work on Destiny 2 for years to come. I tell you this, guys, from what I looked at in the earnings call, I'm not hopeful of a sequel for Destiny. Everything that was mentioned in the earnings call,
they have to do Destiny. There's no other alternative. Unless they come up with some brand new IP that we've never considered that's actually super amazing, which I feel like Sony would never greenlight that, especially after their performance with Destiny 2 and also Marathon. But that's, Marathon isn't going to get better. Like, once a video game reaches entropy, it's almost impossible for it to get away from it. And the only video games that have gotten away from entropy, none of them are live service, besides maybe you could say No Man's Sky.
Lack of Destiny being mentioned
unless there's a huge investment,
like there's just Destiny 3 is probably not getting made. But there is no imminent plug pulling of Marathon, which I've always predicted will get at least a year of content to see if it could find an audience. Nor do I believe Sony is on the verge of closing Bungie itself, even as value has fallen as an asset. After all, it's asset that Sony is still valuing at billions, mind you. This is not Concord, the Sony game made by a brand new studio that arrived with 700 concurrent PC players, 600. Where both were shuttered. But to say the good news coming out of all this is, well, at least Bungie and Marathon weren't just publicly executed. That's not exactly a great place to be.
They're not going to do that. They'll do it later on. The reason they're not going to do this, what public fucking, they're not going to do this randomly at a shareholder statement. They're going to do it way later on, halfway through they're going to do it at 11. Let's release this news at 11 o'clock at night, so to have the most minimal impact on shareholder value. That's the reason why. I mean, of course they're not going to announce a huge failure like that in the middle of a fucking shareholder earnings call. Duh. Of course not.
It's entirely bad news, and this idea that Bungie can surely turn Marathon around is not something that reflects the reality on the ground. Not from any data we could see. The studio continues to navigate choppy seas, but Sony is not yet scuttling the ship. First up, you guys have been giving Paul so much heat on his coverage, and it's been coming directly from the Marathon community. As if he's painting an overall negative picture. He's doing when there's really no other way to see it. I guess retention is good for the people that are playing Marathon. That's cool, but no one's fucking playing it. If I pull a look, I hate to be this guy. I'm about to be this fucking guy. Let me pull this shit up.
Charts.
Here we are. Marathon. There you go. It's Sunday. It's Mother's Day.
900.
Marathon players, maybe they just really love their moms. Completely fine. I understand. 9,974
You're
players.
losing to vampire crawlers. That's crazy. That's insane.
Destiny 2 is currently beating that. And we don't have shit in Destiny right now. You know that? Not shit. Nothing has happened in Destiny. Nothing. Now, you could say, well, maybe Destiny 2 players just don't like their mothers.
Yeah.
Knock it off with the Marathon hate. Believe me, brother, I'm not hating Marathon. The fault really lies with Bungie on this. Okay. However, imagine this. Imagine there they stand. Destiny and Marathon. And I had to choose which one to let go. You know what I mean?
Marathon.
Imagine the Titanic going down and there's only one life raft available. And only Destiny 2 could get on or Marathon could get on. Even in its shittiest state, its lowest low, I would get Destiny 2 off that ship well before Marathon. Matter of fact, I would strap Marathon down with cinder blocks.
Make sure it never escapes. To send it to the bottom of the ocean where it belongs.
Put them all the way in the bottom of the ship and make eye contact with them all the way down. Look, we're gonna have this dance. We're gonna do it. We're gonna watch and see how it goes. I already told you guys that I had a feeling Bungie was about to ice, or Sony was about to ice Destiny's IP. That doesn't mean they're killing it. That just means for the foreseeable future, it's gonna have minimum investment.
Yeah.
And Marathon, they are going to try to pull a Forsaken. They are going to try to pull a Taken King. And you know what? I'll be around. I will be around, and we'll see.
It's impossible. Extraction shooters simply aren't a big genre. On a fundamental level, you can't build a AAA studio around an extraction shooter on a multi-year level. Arc Raiders was kind of an exception. But overall, that game, just on a very fun... Like, in order to make extraction shooters appealing to people that like extraction shooters, you have to actively do things that will make it to where mainstream players aren't interested in them. That's it.
But here's what I truly believe. I don't believe Marathon will be able to turn things back around. That's not to take away from the guys at Bungie working on Marathon who are probably putting their heart and souls into it. I just personally don't think Marathon is going to be able to turn it around.
It's over.
Not to the degree that Sony wants or that Bungie needs. I'll put it to you like this. Do you think Marathon right now has an all-time peak of 88,337 players?
Losing the
My
Ralph.
ass, man. I mean, I was in copium land leading up to the launch of Marathon, and I was like, it won't break below 100,000 players.
Man.
It didn't even go over that. It didn't even touch it. But no. For real. Do you think that it's going to go over 88,337 players in Season 2? Or Season...
No. I think that even if they made the game free to play, it wouldn't go over that number. People just simply aren't interested in playing the game. That's it. Concord proved this. Like, Concord, the first playthrough of the game, playtest of the game, was a paid playtest. The second playtest was a playtest that was free. The free playtest had less players than the paid playtest.
3. Or if they did like a big 1-year launch, do you think it will go over that number? Only going free to play? I have said it for a while now that Bungie should really consider not going completely free to play, just adding one map and making it a free to play map. You know, it can literally be sponsor kits. People can jump in there, mess around, and you might get some conversions. Will there be cheaters? Of course. But you might get some conversions. And if anything, you could pad the stats a little bit. But even then, guys, I don't know, boys. I would be very, very surprised. I'd be very surprised if it gets over that number. I just feel like so many people have already made up their mind about Marathon.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? And sure, the people that are playing Marathon, you know, they're enjoying it. Glad they are, you know? It's tough, man. It's tough.
Dick eaters.
Marathon community, I give you guys shit. But I definitely enjoyed my time playing Marathon. To me, it's a seasonal game. And so I'll jump back in, you know, probably when a new season launches. If there's something big coming each launch. If it's just like, hey, get ready to do all your faction quests all over again. And re-earn all the same shit again. You know what I'm coming from? Which very likely
that's what it's going to be. Because the people that made the game are dumb. If they weren't dumb, they wouldn't have made it that way. It's going to be garbage.
Case.
It's the way it is.
Then my time playing each season is going to be probably much less. With that being said, though, I think Destiny is the better game. I think it's
also, like, by the way, it does matter how many players a game has. If a live service game doesn't have enough players, it dies. You can't develop a game and pay for the people that are running constant updates for the game if you don't have the people playing it. It's just that simple. That they're not making enough money. It's just very simple math. So there's a lot of people that say like, well, I don't care how many people playing, I'm having fun. That's fine. But like if you are expecting the game to continue or for the game to have like a long life cycle or like a big content update, like when you have nobody playing it, that probability goes into the toilet.
Stronger IP. I think it's the sexier game. I think that it's just better on every level. I think it looks better, it feels better, it shoots better, it plays better. It's just better. It's fucking so much better. I can't express just how much better Destiny is. And every Destiny 1 is better. Okay, Destiny 1 fucking kills Marathon. Look, Marathon is a fun time. I have a good time playing Marathon, but there's no world in which I would choose Marathon over Destiny. Okay, if I could do it, I would execute Marathon. Most people agree with Bungie. All right. If this is a tough decision for them, dude, not even 2 minutes in a pillow. I fucking got this shit. And then we can get back to making more Destiny. Yep. I'm going to be honest. If they dropped the Destiny Classic right now, it would beat the shit out of Destiny 2 and Marathon combined. Look. You don't want this fight, Marathon community. Destiny 2 community, y'all don't want this fight either. If a Destiny Classic dropped on PC right now, it would beat the piss out of both these games. No, damn. I don't think Marathon is the worst game at all. There's so many things.
Basically, what you're saying, oh my God. Smartest Marathon player.
That went wrong, man. So many things. Dude, I'm going to be telling my grandkids about this if they're even going to care. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be like, Grandpa, tell us a story. And I'm going to be like, the story can go many ways.
Story of how Marathon
it could be
died.
Like, I'm going to tell you a story about a studio that made an epic comeback by becoming completely community driven. And I'm going to show you where it fell and where they picked it back up. Or I'm going to be like, I'm going to tell you a story of a studio that chopped their own dick off. And chop the testicles off.
That's right.
And shit on everything. They just shit on everything. And they're going to be like, Grandpa, tell us that story. How did this company chop their own balls and dick off? Well, there was a guy named Pete. Pete said, I got a lot of shit. Turns out, Pete didn't have nothing except cars. And that's how the story goes. It's unfortunate, man. Marathon was supposed to come out at least a year ago. It's just bad, dude. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. All right, can you imagine working on Marathon? Can you imagine just being like a developer?
Here's how you know this game was going to be shit. They announced it, and the developers had pronouns next to their name. That, in my opinion, if it's done by a Western dev, it's done by a fucking Japanese dev. I'm just going to assume that they didn't do it. So it's like a production team that did this. Like, the moment that I see that, I'm immediately like, oh, okay, this game's made by losers. It's made by loser retards. And so, like, think about it, right? If you can't even understand what gender is, how can you possibly figure out how to make a good game? Really? Think about this, just for 3 seconds. If you are living in a delusion of reality, how the fuck are you going to make a good game? There's no way.
For just Marathon. You don't work on Destiny. You never worked at Bungie. You finally get hired on. You get hired on a Marathon. You show up and you're like, yeah, leadership seems cool as shit. Then a week goes by. Leadership fucking gone. Christopher Barrett laid off. Why? Truth or dare? Truth or dare? Too much. Shouldn't do it at all. Shit happened. Leadership changes. All right. Oh, simultaneously, tons of other layoffs happening in the studio. All those people you met that work on Destiny, they're all fucking getting laid off or leaving.
Raptured.
And so you're like, gone. Dude, this is really scary. I just showed up here. I just started working last week and fucking so many things happening. And then new leadership comes in, that being Ziegler. Ziegler comes in and he's like, listen, I'm from Valorant, and the way Marathon looks like right now looks like shit. We're going to change everything. And look, nothing against Ziegler. I think Ziegler's got a great mind, but it takes time. Then Ziegler's like, all right, let's fucking, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. And then the time keeps extending. Okay. Keeps extending. And then when they feel like they're like, all right, we're almost there. We're almost to the promised land. They launched the alpha. Now alpha wasn't received that well because the alpha looked like shit. Let's just be clear. It looked like shit.
It was awful. And they did even play tests with extraction shooter players. And even the playtest, the players thought it was garbage too. And so, and also there is the important, like this is something people might not consider. It does matter. The prophecy. The Concord trilogy. Marathon has to die. It has to die for the trilogy to be complete. Concord died. Highguard died. Marathon has to die. And there is a divine ordering of the universe that right now is being denied its truth. And soon, this will be readjusted. It was foretold. Yes, this was foretold. The Triad Concordia,
the thing that really hurt them the most is that inside the alpha was a bunch of in-game assets with decals of another artist. An independent.
I don't think that had a single fucking thing to do with it. I think the real problem was that, like, whenever I saw Shroud and all of these guys paid to watch the marathon reveal, and then they didn't even play it. This is like last April or something like that. Is that like they didn't even play it for more than like a couple of hours. Like, this is a game that, like, I mean, if it was New World, Shroud was playing it for like 18 hours. If it was, you know, Arc Raiders, he's playing it for 18 hours. The moment I see him not no-lifing a new shooter, I think to myself, uh-oh. That's bad.
Brother. Thus, the art scandal formed.
It
sucks, man. It sucks. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. I've said it still. It's kind of amazing that Marathon even made it. Like, it's really amazing Marathon made it out the door.
Yeah.
So, if you work that hard just to get Marathon out the door, of course Bungie and Sony are going to commit resources to it. And they're going to play this dance for probably a year.
Yeah.
The question is, at this point, and this is the point that hurts the most, is... One, is there going to be layoffs following this impairment news?
Absolutely.
Two, where are the layoffs going to hit?
Everywhere.
Are they going to hit more on the Destiny side? Are they going to hit more on the Marathon side? And let me just say, man, I don't think either side can really lose many people at this point. You know what I mean? And those are the people that are, I mean, they're the ones that are going to be living through this. I think my biggest issue with everything that has happened over really since Bungie's been acquired by Sony, there was a large amount of funds set aside to retaining talent. And my question is what the happened to that? If that was set aside to retain talent, then why didn't we retain talent? Why didn't we find a way to keep Chris Proctor? Why didn't we?
Well, they're also operating outside of their competency. I mean, like, making an extraction shooter that's like a repetitive type of game that way. This is a very unique type of game. So, like, and also they're. I would say that Marathon was engineered to fail. Marathon was a game that was meant to take the most extreme and the most hardcore genre, which is full loot extraction shooters, and take that into the mainstream and hit a large audience with it. It was designed to fail. It's like, basically, like, you're looking to try to do something that is the most exclusive thing, or the most, like, let's say, exclusionary type of game, and then you want to hit a huge audience like this with a studio that's not used to making that kind of a live service game exactly. No, there's no way they could have succeeded. It was set up to fail.
Keep Joe.
That's just the
Why
truth.
didn't we keep Mark Noseworthy and Luke Smith? Why didn't we keep Michael Salvatore? Sure, some of you are going to say, but they left on their own accord. Obviously, people got paid. There are people that definitely got paid. But in terms of retaining your top talent, your narrative team from Final Shape, what happened to retaining those people? I'm just saying, guys, I would not be surprised if Destiny goes into maintenance mode after this next expansion. I wouldn't be surprised if, at best, we get a Renegade-style expansion per year with your normal cadence of other things like Guardian games, holiday events. You see where I'm coming from? Cross is killing Destiny fans right now. Guys, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I want us to be prepared for this.
When you see a negative 765 and you start coming up with excuses for it, you've got to ask yourself, what am I doing this for?
Okay, I think it's kind of like
that's like 1/7 of the entire product value,
and
that's
insane.
Think
that unfortunately, I think there's going to be another wave of layoffs. It may not happen until later in the summer, but I do think that there's going to be another wave of layoffs. I hate that.
Millions, billion.
I just think that's probably going to end up happening, and I'm not hopeful that a Destiny 3 is being made right now. Which blows my mind, because it seems stupid as to not make a Destiny 3. That would obviously print. It's not until Marathon is stable. Right. I don't know if Marathon is ever going to reach that point.
Sources tell me Marathon is stable. Please, God.
What their history is, I would say Bungie feels confident since their success with the Taken King, their success with Forsaken. These are the annual expansions that follow the release of Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. They feel very confident that their year 2 turnaround can change the course of the game. However, that's Destiny. And I say this with love, Marathon community. Marathon ain't Destiny. All right? There are people that like your game. I like it too sometimes. But it's
Destiny
not
was popular.
Destiny.
Marathon was
not.
not.
In regards to Gummy Bears and Team LFG, nothing was said about them. Probably not going to hear anything about them until whatever it is that they're working on.
Stable
is
downward
coming out,
spiral.
probably.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, what Team LFG really showcased is that Sony is completely willing to take individual games within Bungie and siphon them off and put them under PlayStation Studios. That's really what that shows. The question is, are they going to do something similar with Marathon? I'd be surprised, but maybe. I don't know. Whatever the case, obviously it showed some levels of promise because then they pulled it out from underneath Bungie and established Team LFG. Yeah, look, there is a way out of this. I want everyone to know there is a way out of this. But it involves heavy investment back into the Destiny side of things. I just don't see that happening from Sony right now.
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not just a skill issue? Well, it could be a skill issue. It could be the fact that some of your greatest talent that worked at Bungie left, and therefore quality of content has gone down.
I think that this is a chicken and the egg situation where I think that a lot of times where you have a large talent exodus, it's because you've also had a product decline, and the talent that are really high up there, they've already made a lot of money. They know they can get hired anywhere else. They're hyper creative and ideologically driven. Those people, them leaving, people like, for example, Jeff Kaplan leaving Blizzard, like they're going to make that decision generally as a result or as a response to some sort of corporate decision making.
You know what I'm saying?
Like Diablo 2?
It's like those two go hand in hand.
Like Blizzard North or whatever.
Look, I don't agree with everything Luke Smith did or said. You know where I'm coming from? But tell me you didn't get a little excited every time you saw Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy on the screen. Tell me, because what did they represent? What did those two guys represent? All right? You knew you were going to get fucked. It might be a bad fuck or might be a good fuck. You don't know. Don't really know. But it still brought a level of excitement. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not going to lie. Going into Final Shape, when Luke Smith came on and he was like, this is definitely not it for Destiny. And after the Final Shape has launched, we'll be back to talk more about that. God, dog it. I was so hopeful, man. I was like, oh, shit. They're doing it, boys. They're doing it. They're going to make it. They're going to make a D3. It's all coming together. And somehow those guys essentially got let go. I know they left, but you know where I'm coming from.
Right.
What would I do to save Destiny? Can I just say Destiny is so just intertwined with the corporate world that...
I can speak from the perspective of somebody who's never played Destiny 2 before. I never will. There are too many expansions, too many purchases, too many complications. The game seems like it's like I arrive at a party, like you arrive at the bar at like 1:47. You might have time to get like one drink, but then you have to go. That's it. Yeah, like you're getting there like just in time, like the last call, right? And so it's too late, bro. Exactly. I think that they need to, like, for me, like, that's the way that I feel as somebody who, like, you guys know, like, I waste so much time playing online live service games. I do. Like, I'll 100% a game, and then I'll just quit the game. I would never want to try to 100% or play Destiny 2 because of how much how involved the game already is.
I don't know how to navigate this.
That's it.
You know what I'm coming from? This isn't just like, hey, here's a single studio who owns an IP, who has creative freedom and direction here to try some things and mix things up. This isn't like we can go in there and make a few sandbox tweaks and changes here or throw in Pantheon 2.0.
Yeah.
There's just so much intertwined in this that, yes, I could sit here and say we can follow the same roadmap that RuneScape followed with essentially old school RuneScape launching. You could do a classic launch. You can roll out that content over a year time frame instead of
that wouldn't be exciting. You have to do something new. It has to be something new. Like the age of remakes and remasters and then, re-releases. Like it's good to have games that are like old come back. Yeah, sure. But like people don't really like, we want something new.
And of course, over 3 years,
What's
so that just
something
wouldn't
that's
make
new?
sense. You could start with the OG sandbox. You can create goodwill by allowing Red War Campaign and Forsaken to be in a playable state in some way. I don't know how you figure out that way, whether that be in a D2 or even maybe even a standalone download. But I don't know. I don't know. But that would establish some level of goodwill. The community would see that and go, all right, we don't forgive you, but we appreciate this. You know what I mean? We appreciate you at least trying. We still fucking remember. We don't forgive you, but we appreciate it. All of this is to tee up the future, which would be a D3. Here's the problem with everything that I just said right now. Sony has to okay it. They have to say, all right, sure. And right now, they're not, the trust between them and Bungie, I think, has really fallen. I don't think they have faith in Bungie, what Bungie wants to do, if Bungie even wants to do that. You see what I mean? Anyways, that's that, guys. That's that. It's not good news. There's nothing good about this. No. There really is nothing good about this. I think like some people are like, but the retention in Marathon. All right. It's not good. You effectively have 2 games now, both competing for shit place. And that's not good. That's where Destiny 2 and
Destiny 2 died, so Marathon could die. So eventually Bungie could die. That's it.
Marathon is right now.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.
Oh, too bad, right? Shit place. Yeah, not a good place to be. And should have incorporated Marathon into Destiny 2. Destiny needs a catch-up mechanic. Well, no, it's just the complexity of the game is just too vast. Like, I don't want to go through, whenever I see 75 different purchase options for Destiny 2, I just, no. Like, why would I ever engage in that if I could just simply play, I don't know, anything else? Why would I do that if I could play anything else? There's no reason to. It seems silly. So, yeah, I'll link you guys a video. Aztec Cross is a massive copium addict for, Destiny. He's made videos about it I've watched. And now he's talking about, of course, what do you call it? Fucking Jesus Christ. Marathon, and it's just going to get worse. I think it's just going to get worse. And also, the gaming community, once it makes up their mind on whether a game is good or bad, I think that it's really hard to get away from that. And that's what's really happened, is that for better or for worse, the gaming community... How did this game do, by the way? Okay, not so great. The gaming community has made up their mind that Marathon isn't that great. They have. Like, I mean, this is really, really bad. I mean, to have this much of a drop right here, I mean, you're barely... Like, I would be surprised if in a month they're even getting over 10,000 players. Yeah, I mean, I really think it's probably not going to happen, but, who knows? But, yeah, play Destiny 1. If they did a remake and they started it from scratch, I would consider it. But I want a new game. That's the way I feel about it. I just want to have a new game. And until I get that, I don't really care.